I want to go over this unfortunate news that we're getting, and that the Islamic Republic is actually apparently dumping oil in the Persian Gulf. This is something that for a while I've been talking about on the live show, and I did not understand why more people are not talking about it. Not only more people were not talking about it, it seemed like nobody was talking about it. Not I follow so many people. I listen to a lot of people analyzing this, the current conflict in Iran, and everybody was talking about the fact that the blockade is going to make the Islamic Republic run out of storage, and this is going to, and they were trying to estimate when the storage capacity will stop, and when the Islamic Republic has to do shut-ins on their oil wells. And the shut-ins on oil wells is basically when you have no more storage space, and then you get forced to shut in your oils, and it causes a lot of damage to the oil well. And I thought I was being stupid by asking this question: why couldn't the Islamic Republic just dump the oil into the sea if they run out of storage? I thought that maybe it's because many people underestimate how evil the Islamic Republic is. Nail Bunny pointed out to me that Saddam has already done that before. So this should have been something that people considered. But to my knowledge, nobody was discussing this. And I felt like an idiot for thinking why this is not a possibility. I was thinking why this is not like, and I was asking around, and if it is a possibility, why people not are considering the fact that if they run out of storage, they could just dump it into the sea. And look at this. Let me actually show you. Unfortunately, what we're seeing here. This is crazy news. So actually, let me share it with the school community here as well. We have Mark Levin. So look at this. Mark Levin is saying apparently the Iranian regime is flooding massive amount of oil into the sea. Yeah, why wouldn't they? So look at this. We first had breaking: Islamic terrorist regime is dumping oil into the sea as we warned. Okay, who is this guy? He's saying as we warned. Did you warn? Because I didn't see anybody talking about it. As we warned, the regime has run out of storage. Oh, so as we warned, they run out of storage space. But nobody mentioned this. I've been trying to raise the alarm on this for a while now. So for days now, they've been faking tanker transfers while pouring massive amount of extracted oil straight into the ocean. Deliberate criminal environmental catastrophe. They're literally poisoning the sea. This is Ecocide in real time. Is that how you pronounce that? And then we have the confirmed satellite imagery. Confirmed satellite imagery reveals massive oil leaks of Kharg Island from deliberate dumping amid blockade induced overflow. So, guys, to me, this suggests that the Islamic Republic can tolerate a lot more of the blockade, unfortunately, given that this means that they're not going to run out of storage as fast as people anticipated, right? And then we have this here. Iran International also confirms this with the satellite imagery. They're actually relying on Reuters. So Reuters reported that based on satellite imagery, there is a possible oil spill in the sea near Kharg Island, one of Iran's main oil centers. In these images captured between 6 and 8 May by Copernicus satellites, a gray and white patch is visible in the waters west of the island. A researcher from the Conflict and Environmental Observatory has stated that this patch appears consistent with oil and covers approximately 45 square kilometers of the sea surface. So I guess, that's the imagery. So this is one of those. Okay, so here, look at this. Goldie confirmed here that Goldie is saying it seems as if the terrorist Islamic Republic occupying Iran is now allegedly dumping oil directly into the sea because it has run out of storage capacity. She then says, we called this exact horrific scenario on Iran Revolution Live a few weeks ago. Where are the environmental activists? And let me show you. So Nail Bunny found this for me. Thank you so much, Nail Bunny. Let me show you where we mentioned this. Let me see on Telegram. Nobody told me. Give me the timestamp. Give me the timestamps. She went and dug out this. And guys, the reason I want to show you this because this is one of those unfortunate times that we were correct about this happening, and the only reason why I want to show you guys this is because I think we should. You can see that you are coming to the right place. If we give you warnings about things that Islamic could do, you need to take us seriously.
Collapse. There are still certain elements of the
Wait, do you guys in school see this? Yes, okay.
system that continue to function. These need to be also addressed. These need to also be targeted. Once the regime is on the verge of collapse, the people will be ready to take over. This has to be a synchronized campaign. We are doing our part as a nation. We need the outside help. It did come, but it cannot stop halfway. The regime never intended to negotiate. It probably will not. I mentioned that in previous interviews. And the reason is that in this their DNA, they simply cannot coexist.
Wait, I think I missed the part that I talked. Hold on. I think it was at 119 here. Sorry, it was this part. Dumping the oil into the sea. Oh, there you go. Yeah, there it is.
We're near the capacity they have now. Now that they're headed to a point they can't store their oil, they're going to have to cap those oil wells, and they'll never come back to anywhere near the capacity they have now. How do you explain what's going on there?
Technically, they don't need to cap those oil wells. There is the option of dumping the oil into the sea. There's also that we have to take into account. Oh, that was the first time, but then also I come here at 126. I actually go into more details about that. Again, guys, like I didn't see anyone else discussing this. It was another episode that I was thinking I was going crazy, maybe that I was discussing this. Hold on, 126, 36.
That possibility because they think that no.
Oh, here. I'm thinking maybe I'm like, what do you think? Is the Islamic Republic going to start dumping the oil into the sea? Because that's
next. So what does this mean for...
Wait, let's go back to that. The surviving Algeria are trapped like drowning rats in sewage pipe. Iran's creaking oil industry is starting to shut in production thanks to US blockade. Yeah, guys, I don't know. Guys, what do you think? Is the Islamic Republic going to start dumping the oil into the sea? Because I haven't seen any people discussing that. I'm thinking maybe I'm like imagining this being a possibility because I've like only on Iran Revolution Live have we talked about that possibility. I've seen it like basically nowhere else. And I'm wondering if other people are ignoring that possibility or are we
You know what it is? I think that other people don't realize how evil and insane the Islamic regime is. So I have a feeling that they haven't even considered that possibility because they think that no government, I use that term very loosely, that no one would actually think of just directly dumping oil into the ocean. But that's exactly something that the Islamic regime would do in order to survive. So yeah, we can't put anything past the Islamic regime.
So, anyways, I won't bore you anymore with me showing you other places where I talked about this. But I just wanted to show you this, and I just don't understand why this was not a major red flag, because to me it seemed very obvious. I put myself in the Islamic Republic. Oh, here we have too much oil. There's no storage space. What do we do? Just because other people thought that we wouldn't put the oil in the sea, did they also assume the Islamic Republic would not do that? Is that why people didn't think about it? Because I think this should have been something that more people were raising the alarm about. Anyways, this is the major disaster. First of all, the main obviously first threat is that the environmental crisis. Also, but another thing that other people are not considering is that if I was the Islamic Republic, I would be dumping this next to the water salination facilities of the Arab countries around the Persian Gulf to basically kill two birds with one stone. First, not run out of storage space. Two, don't let the oil go to waste. Make it so that I'm damaging the ability for these Arab countries to desalinate water. So yeah, close to their desalination facilities. But that would be a huge disaster for these countries. Yeah, that's what I would do. And this means three things: environmental crisis, the blockade maybe not working, because there is basically unlimited now storage space for the Islamic Republic, which is the sea. It's not storage space, but it's still somewhere they could put the oil, and it's infinite. So maybe the blockade will not work to cause shut-ins on Iranian oil wells. And then third one, something else that other people have not talked about, and maybe I'm not as stupid as I thought for considering this, given that this is happening now, is that they could dump it next to the desalination facility. So I wonder what you guys have to say about this. Are there any twos in the chat? Who's modding today?
Okay. All right, I got it. So first to respond is me, and I'm going to show you guys these oil spills that were taken by satellite imagery. So this is May 6th. This was 2 days ago. This was the first day that they started to spill the oil. And you can actually see that the area at which they spilled this oil from, so they brought tankers out here and they just dumped them into the ocean. This is about twice the size of Kharg Island, by the way. And if you look here, you can see that this is where they store the oil. So you can get a sense for how much oil exactly they've spilled here. And the very next day, satellite imagery showed that this oil is now going downstream and spreading. So you can see it going there as well.
Wow.
And I'm going to start. So why did they do this? On a political and world stage, they can claim that the United States blocked their ships from coming in, and that is why that they're dumping the oil in the sea, because they'd rather do that than to have their oil wells explode. And some people will definitely eat that up, even though it's a universally condemned thing, and no sane person should ever take the Islamic regime's side. We still will see them take their side because they hate the US and Israel. In other words, the only possible good thing that comes out of this is that the US will probably act much sooner. They will get a lot more pressure from the Arab nations because their desalination plants are going to be in danger. Wildlife and other such sustenance the Persian Gulf Arab states do get from the water is going to be in danger. And so I really do think markets close in about, 30 minutes or so. And I think we might see some action, particularly now that it's the weekend and markets are closed for good. The US should be acting sooner on this.
Do you think that this means that the blockade is not going to be as effective? I know that it's still hurting the Islamic Republic because it's not able to sell its oil, but the main thing that the main discussion regarding the blockade was how much time the Islamic Republic is going to have to do shut-ins on its oil wells. And is this a possible solution for the Islamic Republic not to have to worry about that?
No, because they can't sell their oil regardless. And the whole point of the blockade was to suffocate them economically. The fact that they're doing this death throes act of dumping the oil into the sea is just another reason why the US can act. It gives them a legitimate reason to go in, but they're still not getting money.
What do you think is going to be the political pressure on President Trump saying, you did this? What are they supposed to do? Look, President Trump, you're responsible for now all of this oil going into the sea.
Sophie, I think your mic's thank you. He's built this narrative that the regime is insane. They're lunatics, and he's said it over the past few months. And I think that's the perfect setup of him just using that line going forward.
Okay. Thank you for those pictures. I didn't have them. So that's actually now more evidence that this news is true. Okay. Thank you, Ali. Who's next?
Next is Jose.
Yeah, I saw those pictures before, so I knew that was happening since the 6th. Here's the thing, Armin. This is we took away their ability to do nuclear. We took away their missile production, their everything else. They have very few weapons left. And if they want to go ape shit on the other people of the Persian Gulf, what a better way than to endanger their fish supply, their traveling. I personally, I don't even know how well those tankers in that area will do if someone lights up those oil and that fuel comes up the side of those tankers. I don't know how secure that oil is inside, how safe those tankers are if they go through a place like that. I know that off the coast of Florida here, if we ever had an oil spill, the tankers would move away from it. They wouldn't go toward it, just in case of fire effect. So to me, this is a weapon of mass destruction on the absolute cheap. And yeah, I hope to God Trump does something about it. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. This is a good reminder that the only solution to all of this madness is regime change. These people are capable of things that other people would not consider.
Next to respond is Jeff.
When we were talking about some of the cards for the past, I don't know, month, we were talking about the impact of the blockade against the Mullah regime, and you had to worry about the Mullah regimes carrying out certain acts. You talked about the standing order to burn Iran to the ground that the Mullah regime has if they're on their way out, and outline a couple of key lines of effort: blowing up WMDs in place, dumping oil into the strait and lighting it on fire, like going Saddam Hussein times a bazillion, which is what they might do. So where does it shake out here? Okay. So it's like you got three buckets of damage that they're causing. You have the environmental ecological damage. It kind of deals with marine life. It's going to smother coral reefs, seagrasses, all this other stuff, kills fish, which is a big deal, as you guys mentioned. Long-term oil sinks into sediments and creates like a persistent pollution, bioaccumulates, or like biological amplification toxins up the food chain, on and on. So if you have fishing villages that are like dependent upon getting fish for a large portion of their caloric intake, that's going to hurt them. Spread. So right now it's local-ish, although you have like currents plus the Somal winds that are pushing it towards Iranian, Saudi, UAE, Qatari, Bahraini, and Omani coast, and it's going to start hitting protected areas and fisheries across the Gulf, potentially. Economically, for Iran, they don't care. They're not selling shit either way. As far as like regional cleanup losses, so oil spill responses in wartime is a fucking nightmare. We had that problem back during the first Gulf War when Saddam Hussein did his active environmental and ecological terrorism. And the costs usually run in the tens to hundreds of millions for even mid-sized slicks, although broader war can bring it up to billions. Broader ripple. So it's going to add friction to the already, that's what they're trying, like the mullahs are trying to do. They're trying to like also add ripples to the global oil markets. That's what they're hoping to do. As far as desalination, yep, that's an issue. So how does it hurt them? So the oil kind of clogs the seawater intake pipes and fouls like the reverse osmosis membranes and filters they use to filter out their water. The plants have to shut down, deploy emergency booms to keep the oil away from the intake valves, and run expensive extra treatment stuff. Even thin slicks can cause outages for a couple of days to a couple of weeks. So it's not apocalyptic yet. The slick is recent, right? The response is ramping. It's textbook example of the regime remnants are turning to environmental warfare and ecological and economic and water security warfare to try to put pressure on us. As far as what we can do to stop it, grabbing Kharg Island would help, although it's high risk, high payoff. So if we go into Kharg Island, we don't know if the Mullah regime's booby trapped it. We don't know if they probably got it zeroed in, so they're fire stuff at it. This is why we have to hammer the shit out of all the Mullah elements in the Strait of Hormuz to give us free movement there without any risk so that we can guard against stupid shit like this. And this is also why the regime has to be brought to a rapid close.
True.
Thank you. Next to respond is Ian.
I'm shocked by how well you know your enemy, Armin. It's a serial killer film where the investigator has to go too far into the mind of the killer, right? But all I can add is that I did a little bit of research, and about 70% of their oil production is inland oil fields, and those are the most mature fields. My assumption is that there's a lot of infrastructure required to get that oil to the sea, and that the United States could potentially hit that infrastructure They have about 15 active oil platforms in the Persian Gulf, but those are less mature fields. So they don't have the same potential destruction. So there may be a way to stop this, but I'm no expert.
I hope so. Thank you for that. We'll look into that. What can we research to get more information on this?
I don't know anything about petroleum engineering, so I just did some cursory research way back when you first brought that idea up. But the maturity of the field is what determines whether you can just shut it off or you're going to do major damage. And then the location of the field relative to the sea is something that you have to in all cases you have to move the stuff.
Yeah. But by the way, this reminds me, we had a new article, I forgot from where, I think it was Wall Street Journal, that had claimed that the CIA was saying that the Islamic Republic has more time to be able to tolerate the blockade than originally estimated. But I don't know if in that CIA report they were taking this into consideration as well, the dumping of the oil into the water. So I don't know if that report is public or was the Wall Street Journal had access to it without actually putting out the report by CIA report out there. But that's something that we might want to look into.
Next to respond is Sketch.
I think you have to target anything that gets the oil to the sea. The oil doesn't start at the sea. They don't pump it there, do they? Whatever they pump there, you can destroy the facilities. Whatever they're pumping elsewhere, you can destroy the facilities. Either it gets destroyed because they're stalling, or it gets destroyed because they exploded on the way out, or it gets destroyed because we destroyed it before they could use it as a weapon. I would rather we destroy it before they can use it as a weapon. I know this is basically what Ian said. When he said it, I was like, oh my God, he knows exactly what I'm about to say. I think that's the only thing we can do. We have to take that card. You have to take that gun away from their hands and just destroy it. Because if not, they're just going to keep. That would take away their ability to do that. Would it be more difficult to restart those pumps? Yes, but if we're being logical, these are illogical people. So they're going to do every illogical thing. You can't look at Iran and forget that they're apocalyptic, suicidal. They think there's going to be a new world after all this, and there's going to be some apocalypse, and there's going to be angels, and God is going to come down and clean their water and fix their wells or whatever. They won't even need wells, whatever. So if they're apocalyptic, you can't think through the logic. No, because later, apocalyptic means they don't care about later. There is no later for them. They don't believe in later. They believe in we're going to bring the end times, right? And if that is their logic, you got to understand that there is nothing they won't do. So the only solution I can think of, we should hit the wells. We should hit the wells ourselves, do it in a manner where they can't get the oil out. Maybe it doesn't destroy the well completely for the future, but it destroys the machinery that gets the oil out. We might have a type of targeted strike where people who understand this machinery, like when the Israelis hit someone in Iran, sometimes they go inside one window. That means we can be very precise about what part of this mechanism we hit. And I believe we can do strikes in which we destroy this mechanism because we were already, let's say they were logical. We were already counting on them to start closing the wells and maybe take the damage. They're not doing that. So we close it for them. I don't see any other way. And I would start targeting their boats. So I would start taking over their boats. I would just start going in there, sending in them a helicopter and taking their boats away because whatever is still in a tanker, they will spill. So just take the tanker now.
They're not spilling it from the tank. I don't know, but I don't think they're spilling it from the tanker into the water. I think the oil well, that is the oil gushing out, they're just releasing that into the water. And if you damage that, I think the political consequences for President Trump, there's not enough political capital to be able to justify. Trump is going to be in a very difficult position from a political perspective if it's the United States military that is causing damage to the oil wells directly, which this is, by the way, this is going to be billions of dollars of damage. And it's going to take some people say maybe that's exaggerated, but it's going to be very difficult to bring it back on, allegedly. some people suggest that actually the Islamic Republic has a lot of experience with shut-ins and recovering oil wells. I don't know how true that is, but I don't know even if they had that experience before. I think this is different because we didn't have this level of a blockade on the Islamic Republic before. But the point is that having the Americans themselves damage the oil infrastructure, that is a level of escalation that President Trump himself is not yet comfortable with. He plays around with it. He keeps saying, oh, I'm going to come destroy this and destroy this as a way to get the Islamic Republic to the negotiating table. But it seems, based on what we're hearing, is that he genuinely prefers not to damage the infrastructure. He really prefers to leave the infrastructure for the Iranian people. And he doesn't want to do that. So we'll see.
If I can reply?
Yeah, sure.
What I would say to that, he is a business president. He was good for what he was doing. But I look forward to a war president because he is too focused on the business, too focused on the political capital, too focused on the people that are going to say bad things no matter what happens, too focused on those people. I don't care what those people think. I don't care. They're going to complain no matter what. There's always going to be people complaining about it. I don't care. This is the only thing that's going to work because they're going to do it anyway.
Sorry, I don't think it's about the other people's. I know, maybe it is. I think he himself is not comfortable with causing. Like, he genuinely doesn't like war. He doesn't just say that. I think he just doesn't like war.
I don't think he's insincere. I agree with you completely on that. That's why I said he is a business president. He may be in his heart. Business people want to provide a service and receive a remuneration that they think is fair. That's why business is like a humanitarian. I want to give you something you want more than money, and I want to take the money. So it's like an exchange. It's like a good thing. So business people, despite the crap they get, like genuine business people, tend to be good people. As a good person, he's not going to want to it would hurt him. But sometimes you need a war president. That was my point. I agree with you completely on that. I think that's what's holding him back.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's go to other people.
Next is Richard.
Richard, you're muted. You're speaking, but you're muted. Oh, there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you speak louder? Yes, a little bit low.
Yeah. Is that better?
Okay, louder, but sure. I guess it's fine. But yeah.
Let me try one thing here.
Okay. You're muted now. Unmute yourself.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes, that is significantly better. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Technical issues.
That's okay.
So yeah, I'm not trying to mitigate what the regime did. It's this incredibly sick act. I'm just trying to take a step back and see how this plays into a larger strategy. I think the spill proves a couple of things, especially taken in the context of their increasingly desperate attempts to break the blockade over the last couple of days. It proves that the propaganda they were spreading about circumventing the blockade through land transport and shadow fleets was obviously false. So we know that they're not getting the oil out of the country to markets. There's not a way they can spin this that doesn't have a financial ramifications. We said the whole point of the economic strangulation campaign was to cut off the funding to the militia groups, the terrorists they've imported, and the international proxy groups they've been funding. So this also proves that basically the economic strangulation campaign is working. But I think the primary concern at this point is now that there's not enough time to really sufficiently starve them economically while staving off massive environmental damage. So I think it also pushes the clock up as far as what we have to do to take non-financial actions.
That's a good point. And even if the Islamic Republic doesn't care about oil spills in the Persian Gulf as much, I'm pretty sure the Arab countries there are going to be, the Arab countries close to that area are going to be very angry about this. I don't know how significant that damage is going to be to the countries closer to the Strait of Hormuz, because Kharg Island is up north on the Persian Gulf, so we're closer to, I don't know, Iraq. But I think the whole thing actually is next to Saudi Arabia. So I think maybe this will cause more pressure by the Saudis and Kuwait, which are closer to that area, on President Trump to finish the job with the Islamic Republic. So that's another thing we need to consider. Like, how is Saudi Arabia and Kuwait? Iraq doesn't have that much leverage on United States, so I don't know if they are going to be able to have any say in this. But Saudi Arabia will probably not like this at all. I can't imagine this is going to be well for tourism in Saudi Arabia if we have oil spills in the Persian Gulf.
No, I agree. It is actually, the pictures that they uploaded look very similar to the oil spill we had with the Gulf spill about a decade ago, and that didn't cause quite as much damage as the environmentalists predicted, but it also caused damage over time. Right now, it's not so much the damage that's been done, but the threat of major damage going forward that's going to increase that pressure. Basically, they'll get on the phone to Trump and say this needs to be done yesterday. They do have significant leverage, I think, over Trump and the oil markets. So another reason I think we'll probably see some escalation very soon.
Okay, hopefully.
Thank you. Okay. Next is Jewish Samantha.
Yeah, shalom. So what's it called? Yeah, never underestimate the power of wishful thinking. That's something I realized. You always want to think about who you're talking to, and is this someone who tends to go more worst case scenario or more wishful thinking? And the Trump administration people tend to be more, when it comes to something like that involves them, how successful they're going to be or how smooth things are going to be under their leadership, tend to go very wishful thinking. And yeah, there's also what's it called? I was talking about this the other day, and that the most dangerous part about being like in an abusive relationship or being in a cult, the most dangerous time is like when you're actually leaving and in the process of trying to leave. So it's like that with regime, where it's the most dangerous part of having a crazy theocratic dictatorial regime is like when you're trying to destroy the regime and have transition of power. But just like you ain't tell people not to leave an abusive relationship or a cult because it's the most dangerous thing, you shouldn't tell people not to or want to transition because of the danger that's involved. Also, it's possible that the thought could have crossed people's mind, but because people don't want to, it could have crossed the mind of people who want this war to happen, but because they want the war to happen, they don't want to essentially give reasons of, hey, these are bad things that might happen in the interim. Then that could have talked people out of it. So that's also a possibility.
Okay, people in the chat, what makes you think that President Trump engages in wishful thinking? Because I was talking about the media not considering the oil, just pouring the oil into the sea. The information that
the media kind of likes to pretend that he's nicer than he is.
Okay, but we have to separate what we're talking about. Okay, so that's what I was talking about. When it comes to the Trump administration, we don't actually know exactly what they considered and what they did not consider. We don't know, because there is a lot of what they discuss and consider is private. So we're not in a position really to know exactly what scenarios they considered and what possibilities they associated with each, right? Unless you have some information that I missed based on. Yeah, but that's my position. I think, and many of the things that some people, it goes on the other way as well. A lot of people might say that, oh, President Trump for sure knew this will happen. And we don't know that either unless there's evidence for it. But again, what's on their table and what reports that they're analyzing and what advice they were being given, a lot of that is private, and it's hard for us from outside to be like, oh, they were wishful thinking, or we're too optimistic or too pessimistic, or right. Here's what I do know. Okay. I know that nobody gets it 100% right. Nobody has ever gotten it 100% right. So it's too high of an expectations for the Trump administration for us to be like, oh, I'm pretty sure they got some things wrong, because everybody gets some things wrong. If we look at the history of military operations and declassified information, you can see even the best intelligence the best intelligence agencies never get everything 100% correct, and they know that. So it is part of their job not to be always 100% correct. Like I said, that should be the expectation. All right.
All right, thank you. Next is Jeffrey.
Very true. That's why we speak in probabilities and or levels of confidence, because the only entity that is 100% sure on anything is God. Everybody else operates around margins of error. The idea that the Mullah regime was going to engage in environmental terrorism was not looked at, or it's not like people didn't know. The simple fact is, given the threat that the Mullah regime posed vis-a-vis its pseudo-theological nature of its motivation, the fact that it had reconstituted its vast ballistic missile and drone forces, and they were getting ready to mass launch against the United States, our Israeli and Gulf state allies, and there was intelligence showing a moderate to high probability they were marrying chem bio warheads to said missiles. We had to strike them no matter what. It's the same reason why the Mullah regime ultimately has to go down. They're never going to give up their pursuit of shit. Never. That probability is very low. It's not like people didn't plan for contingencies. It's just you can't be paralyzed by analysis. I got to keep analyzing and analyzing, so you never ever do anything. You come to the best analysis you can get, the given amount of like time, information, resources that are available, then you take your best shot. And then understanding that you have to modify things on the fly, because nothing survives first contact with the enemy and or the environment. That's why competitive adaptation is very important. Well said there, Armin. Said Ali.
Thank you. One thing I want to add to that is that if we believe President Trump, he did say, again, we don't have to trust anybody 100%, but he did say that he expected oil to become much higher in price than it is right now. So he said he was surprised by that. He also mentioned that he thought the stock market would have a semi-collapse. He claims that he's surprised that the stock market is doing very well, even with the current war. He thought that they have to pay a temporary price in the markets before this, and then go back to having the markets going back up. But now, as you can look at the markets right now, we keep hitting record highs, which is crazy. I'm pretty sure at some point there's going to be a correction, but the fact that it's not going down in the middle of a war like this is still pretty interesting.
All right, next is me, and I want to show you guys again just the newest updates on this. So today, I'll close this. So wait, you can see this, right? I'm gonna close that. Today there are no tankers around Kharg Island. They all left because they don't want to be targeted. So if they do try to load up here, I'm pretty sure the US is just going to attack them to prevent any future spillage. So got no more there. And then I wanted to show you guys this clip regarding this entire situation. So this is new. And let me know if you guys can hear it.
We don't hear audio. Ali, you have the best videos. I don't know why. Can you figure out why we don't hear audio from you?
Yeah, let me. Okay, I think I got it. All right, here we go. Okay, this will work now.
I hope so.
With us today, we blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle. I'll let you know when there's no ceasefire. You won't have to know. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran. And they better sign their agreement fast.
So yeah, that's the latest thing that President Trump said about it. One big glow sounds pretty ominous. I'm not sure I want to speculate as to what that could mean, but it seems, again, don't take him literally, right? Let's just take him seriously. He's going to do something.
Okay. Yes. But I'm predicting a lot of attacks. I'm predicting Piers Morgan going against him. I'm predicting Tucker Carlson, Piers Morgan, Nick Fuentes. Oh my God, I can see, I can already hear Shink Yuger and Anna Kasparian in my ear right now responding to that. They're going to take that, and that's going to go viral. So many people are going to respond to that. Holy crap. One big glow. Everybody's going to think about an atomic, like a mushroom cloud or something. Okay. Wow. Okay. We have to, guys, get ready. There's going to be a lot of responses to that. But here's what I think, Ali, about that. Let me know if you agree with me or not. I think he just uses that language to just be like, yes, you don't know what I'm gonna do. I will say the most extreme stuff. I'm a crazy man. I might blow everything up. It's basically a civilization will end. I agree. I think he actually doesn't want. He's actually very much sensitive to not hurt people. That's what I've noticed. People are like, do something. The Iranian people are like, do something. I don't want to destroy your infrastructure. And the Iranian people are like, it's fine. Just do it. Do anything. Get us out of here. And I don't want this is going to be too bad for the people. But then that's his calculation, in my opinion. But then when his language is, yeah, I'm going to end that civilization. It's going to be, I don't know, a mushroom cloud. I think that is just him using, you know how I know that's his strategy, to just go the madman strategy, basically put the most extreme position out there, is because it's in the art of the deal, right? It's in the art of the deal. So we don't even have to guess what he's doing. That's what he's doing. He doesn't want to do, not only he doesn't want to do that, he doesn't want to do even anything close to that. But that's what he does to try to get his enemies to fear him. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, guys, what Armin is saying is exactly that. Last time, Trump said, we're going to take out every power plant. The country's going to go dark. And what did the regime do? They immediately came running back to the negotiating table.
Yes.
This time, his literal next words were, they better sign the deal fast.
Okay.
All right. Next is Jose.
I'm going to jump back in on this one. Be grateful it's not me as president of the United States, because I would have nicked them already. Just saying. All right, that's enough for humor.
Wait.
My concern right now.
For context, for people who might not get, that was just, you're being sarcastic.
That was a joke. That was a joke. Yeah.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
But just in case that was not a joke, please don't do that. I have family in Tehran. Thank you very much. But yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
No problem. Here's the thing. I just saw 2 newspaper articles that have just recently come out in the last 15 minutes saying Congress has to stop this. We can't let that egotistical Trump in charge. So guess what? It started already. They want Congress to get involved again. Okay, and it's just it's the roller coaster has begun again. That's all. So yeah, I hope Trump does something immediately. I hope it's complete. I don't think the Islamic regime knows what they've done. They've already had the Emirates declare war on them, but Saudi hasn't. None of the other ones have declared war on him yet. If you're endangering their food supply, their oil fields, their water, okay? He just pretty much told them, hey guys, go fuck yourself. You're all extinct. We're making you all extinct. He might lose those that support him in those countries by this. It has to be explained to them in a certain way to get the point across. Oh, they don't care if you live or die. Now, if they're also crazy nut jobs that want the end of the world to come, okay, fine. But just let you know that it's more than just a economic, it's actually a use of a weapon of destruction or mass destruction in the region by unleashing that oil. If they continue to unleash oil, it's going to get nasty. Ali, did you say those ships, the 2 tankers, discharged their oil? So they didn't do it from land?
So Kharg Island has 2 terminals. The ships docked there under the guise. I don't know if they dumped them from the ship or from the pier directly, but they dumped them regardless.
Okay, good enough. Good enough. Okay, so any tanker heading to Kharg Island goes down. Sink it immediately. No ifs, no ands, no buts. And I'm all for that. That's it. Sorry if I spooked anybody of you. One of these days, I'll tell you the joke behind that.
Okay. By the way,
All right, thank you.
Susie is
Next,
here. Susie, we miss Susie. Okay. All right.
Next is Sketch.
On the relationship, yeah, it's like that. It's, hey, if I can't have you, no one can. And it's going to go with any of the infrastructure and any of the people. It might start slaughtering people. As far as Trump, he might be lying. Because in war, you have to lie. So Trump, he's wishful thinking. He doesn't know what he's saying. No, on the 20th of June, he said, we're going to give them 2 weeks to make a deal. And on the 21, they got hit with Midnight Hammer. That means he knew he was lying when he said you have 2 weeks. I would be scared when he says, I'm going to make everything glow. I would be even more scared when he says you have time. Because if you go by the pattern, oh, that means he's about to strike us. But that's like something to take into account. And yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Very quick.